Hello everyone, thank you for clicking on the video. Today we're going to be going over the very basics of FL Studio. This guide is mainly going to be useful to those who have never really opened the program. If you don't know how to use FL Studio, or if you don't know music theory, I just need you to gather your attention span and watch the video. I need you to lock in. So if you've never opened FL Studio before, the windows might look something like this. You can just right click the corresponding icon to minimize and maximize it. This is the playlist. This is where you arrange your beats. This is the piano roll. This is pretty much how you use every sound. The notes for all of your melodies and drums are going to be put here. I forgot to turn on, the purple light is now on. This is the channel rack. This is how you add and manage your sounds. This is the mixer. And of course, because of the name, this is how you mix your track. If you don't have this big folder menu to the left, you could press this button and then it should appear. The majority of the buttons you will never use. I have never used any of the buttons up here. This button up here is the metronome. We are basically ready to use FL Studio. So there are some prerequisites to actually making beats. You do need some VSTs. The VSTs that I'm talking about specifically are the melody VSTs. VSTs are just plugins. Some good VSTs are Synology or Serum. You probably will need Serum banks if you get Serum. I make music already, and I still don't really understand Serum. You're also going to need drum kits. A drum kit is pretty much just a library of drum sounds. So you see here the 808 clap, hi-hats, and kicks. There's also a very good chance that you've already heard of these sounds, like the spins 808, the no-lie snare. Drum kits are pretty necessary for music production. If you want to add a drum kit to the folder menu, you can literally just drag and drop the folder. If you have VSTs that you installed, you have to go into Options, Manage Plugins, and Find Installed Plugins. So now that you have all the prerequisites, you know what the buttons do, you can now start making the melody. Of course, you don't always have to make the melody first. I feel like there are really no rules to music. If it sounds good, it is good. So today I'm not really going to be making a beat, but rather just showing examples of how to use the program. Open the channel rack, press this plus button, go to more plugins, and then you could find your VST using the search bar at the bottom. So to use a VST, it's pretty much all the same concept. Find a preset you like. Now that it's added to the channel rack, it might look like this. To make it easier to get to the MIDI so you can start drawing patterns, you can press this orange button. Now press this dark area so we can now place notes in the piano roll. You can adjust your BPM with this. Now press this arrow in the top left, go to view, scale highlighting, and then pick a key and a scale. Major is going to sound happy and minor is going to sound everything else. I'm going to pick G minor. Also, just for clarification, it's probably best to use only minor natural and major Ionian. If your piano roll doesn't have dark and light notes like mine, you can enable the note grid highlights here. And just to make it a little bit easier, you can go into key labels and pick all notes. To make sure that your melody is on key and sounds good, only put your notes in the highlighted rows. The light rows are in key, the dark rows are not in key. Now that you have a pattern for an instrument, in this case our lead, you can highlight it either using the bars up here, Control and left click, or just press Control and A. Now from here you can press Control B, and that's going to copy it over. I recommend that you add more variance and complexity to your beat, but I'm just trying to show you how to use the program. You can see I also did kind of change it up. Now we can go to our channel rack. We can now put our instrument to a mixer track. You could either left click or just use your scroll wheel. Now we can go into the mixer using this button, and the track that we put our instrument on should already be highlighted. To start mixing your instruments, you can press slot 1. If you have third-party VSTs, you can press more plugins and search for your own, or if you don't have any VSTs, all the stock plugins are being displayed. So to start, we can press parametric EQ2. I say EQ2 because this is the original, and frankly, I would rather not use this. So what I did here is I boosted some of the main frequencies, which is just the mid. I took out some of the treble, which is the very high end, and then I took out some bass and low mid. Also, just for a quick tip, your melodies should not have that much bass. Bass is normally filled up by the 808 or kick, or both the kick and 808. Sometimes I route all my instruments to a bus. A bus is pretty much something that mixes everything. For this example, insert 10 is my bus. On insert 10, I would get a parametric EQ2, select one of the cut presets, and take away just about all of the sub. There can still be some bass, but you want to keep the bass fairly low so you can make room for your 808. If one instrument is too low or too loud, you can adjust this volume knob. You can put it higher or lower, of course depending on what it needs. If you want your sound to be wider or more stereo, you can adjust this stereo separation knob. Pulling the knob to the left is going to expand your sound. Putting it to the right is going to make it mono. Now for the rest of the melody and the instruments, we can add other sounds and VSTs to fill up space and frequencies. That was actually kind of a bar. Just to make this guide a little faster, I'm only going to use one more instrument, which is the string on the screen now. If you have an instrument like strings or a piano, you can layer the notes on top of each other. It doesn't have to be a whole octave apart, but the notes should be spread out a little bit. You can use this as an example. I made this pattern for the strings. Also, for another tip, you can select your pattern, press Alt-R, and that's going to bring up the randomizer. If pattern is on, you can just disable it, and for levels, you can put the pan and velocity velocity up a little, make it bipolar, and then press accept. That's going to randomly change the volume of your notes and how much of the note is being played in which ear. Just for an update, I changed the chords a little bit. On the mixing for the strings, I turned the stereo separation up a little, I turned the volume down like 10%, I added this EQ, boosting the frequencies that I like, and taking away some of the frequencies that I don't like. And then I also took out a lot of the bass. I added some reverb using the cathedral preset, and then I turned the mix knob down a little. Then I added delay using the saturated preset, and I turned the delay mix knob down as well. Now this is what our melody sounds like. Now we can add our drums. This is where the drum kit comes in. I'm gonna start with my hi-hats, but of course you don't have to. I like this hi-hat, so I'm going to hold it and I'm gonna drag it into the channel rack. Make sure you're not replacing any sounds, but adding sounds by holding your mouse under your VSTs like this. Now we have our hi-hat in the channel rack. Now this part is very optional. You don't have to do this, but I do. I turn the trim all the way up, so there's no empty space in the sample. Also, make sure this time knob is completely set to 0. This is what it sounds like if the time knob is down, but if it's set incorrectly, it's gonna sound like this. Now press this wrench icon and press cut self. Now we can give it a mixer track, and now we can draw a hi-hat pattern. If you want to make very simple hi-hats quickly, click this brush icon, and then you can just click and drag. Once your hi-hats are placed, select them and randomize them using Alt-R like we did before. For the hi-hat mixing, I added a very big low cut to take out all of the bass, because a hi-hat should be high. You could also add some very light reverb if you'd like. Now I'm going to add a clap. I found a clap that I like, so I'm going to drag it into the channel rack, and then I'm going to do the same thing that we did to the hi-hats. I made the clap very basic, putting it in the middle of every bar, and then I also turned the velocity all the way up. You can just select your claps and drag it. This is the only mixing I do for the clap, at least most of the time. I take out some of the subby low end, but keep some bass so the clap still hits. Also, if you want it to look like this, you can hover over the band. A band is just one of these numbers, and scroll all the way up to make it wider. To make this cut on the low end, I right-clicked the low end band, which is 1, type, and then high pass, and then order, steep 8. Notice how when I play the track, the master is going over 0 decibels. That's just gonna make the mix sound bad and muddy. So for a solution, select one of the slots and add a fruity soft clipper. Now it doesn't go over 0 and your drums hit a little harder. Now we can add an 808. I'm gonna pick this spins 808. If loop points is on, you can just turn it off. Now this is pretty important. Make sure you only do this to your 808. Go into this envelope menu and put everything down except hold. You can put hold all the way up. Now if I play the 808, it'll stop when I want it to. Also, just for a quick note, your actual drums like your hi-hat and clap, they don't have to be in key, but your 808 does. Make sure you don't place all of your notes on your root key. This is a mistake that I made a lot when I started producing. Instead, it should look like this. If you're having a hard time hearing if the 808 is on the right key, because it could be on key but not the right key, you can select all of your 808s and drag them up 2 octaves. So I went from G5 to G7. Make sure that all of your velocities are all the way up, which is what we did with the clap as well. This is what we have so far. Now we can add some more drums like an open hat. Now to finish off the beat, I'm gonna get a kick. So what I do for my kick in 808, I copy the 808 pattern and I make sure the kick is only playing on C5. The kick starts to sound weird if it's played too high or too low. The mixing for the kick is just turn it up until it hits. Now notice how the kick and 808 are playing at the same time. We don't want that because in the mix, the bass is gonna clash together and just sound bad. So we're gonna sidechain the kick to the 808. We need to select the kick mixer track and route it to our 808 mixer track using this arrow. Now turn it all the way down. Then on the 808 mixer track, go to a slot and select a limiter. Put the ceiling all the way up, then go to comp. So now you should play around with the threshold, knee, and ratio, and also the release. Generally speaking, this is what it should look like. Use this sidechain button and then put it to 1. Now the kick and 808 don't clash with each other. If you want more distortion in your beat, or it's just not loud enough, go to your master track and then add another soft clipper. Make sure that it's on top of the one that you added before. The default soft clipper is on slot 10 and the one I'm about to modify is on slot 9. So I turn the threshold all the way up and put the post gain to about 85%. Now this is what that gives us. So now we're almost done. Go to your playlist, go to pattern 1, right click and press split by channel. Now control and left click to highlight all of them and then drag them onto your playlist. Move and reposition the elements of your track. Make it sound exciting and just not boring. Give it build ups and build downs. You can add some risers and a producer tag and just play around with it how you like. Once you have an arrangement that you like, you can press Ctrl A to highlight it. Go to File, Export. If you're giving the file to someone to use, you can select Wave and then pick a file name. Copy these settings. It should have a 12-bit float on stereo, 500 112 point sync, high quality for all plugins, disable maximum polyphony, I think that's how you pronounce it, trim PDC silence, enable insert effects, enable master effects, and show files when complete. Now, if you want to upload the beat to YouTube, select MP3, put the bitrate all the way up, and make sure it's still stereo. And the settings from before should save. And that should be it. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If I missed anything and you still have questions, you can just leave a comment because I have 50 subscribers. I will see it and I will respond. Or if you want to speak to me personally, I have a Discord server. You can check the link in my bio. Thank you all so much for watching and have a great day.